we are reviewing the United States Grand Prix, the first Grand Prix of the season that we've been to in person. So we got to see it all unfold in front of us. And here we are trying to piece it all together, make sure we haven't left anything out to give you guys a wonderful race review.
A wonderful race review. We're definitely not very tired and hungover. And we are definitely not very somber to be leaving very, very soon. We had a good time though, didn't we? A great race, good seats. We saw a lot of the action, which is great fun. I think COTA do it really well. The track is set up really nicely. It's really easy to get to a lot of the amenities. The food options are pretty good. Loved a mango refresher.
Oh my Lord. So much mango, so much refreshing.
So refreshed after the mango refresher. And I do think that I would return.
You do?
I do declare.
I will come again.
Yeah, sure. 10 out of 10 would visit again.
Yeah. I mean, the shuttle was a little bit more slow.
I think it was busier again this year. They're obviously hyping it up, but it was a busy old day, especially yesterday.
Yes, that it was. And it be hot. I think the race day was a little less hot than Sprint Saturday and qualifying Saturday. Which probably pleased a couple of the teams that were trying to manage tyres. And strategically, we'll get into that a little bit later on because you had the one gap tyre compound to deal with. And we were very intrigued going into it. Would we see some 2 stops? Would we see some 1 stops? Would it be a balance of the 2? So, I think I'm just going to say the lack of heat. It was definitely no lack of heat, but compared to the Saturday, at least, that might have helped a few drivers, a few teams. Let's start with Max Verstappen because he had an absolutely flawless weekend, as Sam points to Max Verstappen, who is just in front of his mic. Sorry.
Ben Quacken.
Ben Quacken, to give him his full government name. Verstappen had a perfect weekend. 2 pole positions, the sprint win, and most importantly, the main race win. We now have just 40 points separating himself and Oscar Piastri at the top of the championship. Sam, how impressed were you with what Verstappen was able to do? No real threat.
No real threat at all. The only thing he didn't achieve this weekend was claiming the fastest lap in the main Grand Prix, which is a pretty incredible feat. Nobody's perfect. I saw the F1 graphic come out on social, which, hey, look, if that's the only thing you don't pick up, not even a point for that anymore, you got to pat yourself on the back. Max Verstappen be looking very happy these days. He's looking smiley boy. And rightly so, because not only has the car returned to form, and they have clearly continued that development through under Lauren Mekis in the final part of this season, and rightly so, because it's starting to pay dividends. It shows you just that when Max Verstappen gets a car that he suits, he's able to deliver excellence. He was never in doubt as to whether he could get away and run away with this race. The start was probably the scariest thing for him, and with COTA Turn 1, and if you've never stood on that racetrack, the height of that corner is just sublime. It is awe-inspiring at how tall that corner is. That is the scariest part for him, and he got through cleanly. There was no problems, no drama. Got away from the kind of the crowds behind that were trying to catch up to him. Absolutely no trouble whatsoever. Strategy was executed flawlessly, pulled away from the Norris-Leclerc battle, which I do think helped a little bit. I think had Norris go away cleanly in turn 2 and not had to end up battling with those around him, we may have seen a little bit more of a threat, but the pace of Verstappen was just, next level, incredible. They've really developed a car there now that I do think might be right there with McLaren. I'm not sure it's the best car. We spoke about this, Ben, how if Norris's best 3 sectors were put together, he probably would have had a lap to beat Verstappen, but was unable to do so, whereas Max is able to deliver so regularly, so consistently, that for me, that is the ultimate package once again. It's Verstappen and that Red Bull is the perfect duo. They've got a little more development to come, which is actually the scary part of what's left in the season.
Terrifying. Harry, we were talking about how the gap between Verstappen and Piastri was not that long ago over 100 points, 104 points. And we're now looking at 40 points. And that's just 4 races. That's it. We saw Monza, we saw Baku, not necessarily expecting a dominant Verstappen win, but less surprised than at other circuits so far this year. Singapore was weird. Coming into this one, we thought, okay, if he's got some pace here, look out, McLaren. Is that where you think they'll be at right now?
Yeah, I think we used the phrase "oh boy" on our preview episode. Yeah, it's been this, whatever analogy you want to use, whether it's a dinosaur or Jaws.
I'm really sick of hearing about Max Verstappen as a T-Rex. No, I'm so bored of hearing about him as a T-Rex.
But he is hunting them down, and if I was Norris and Piastri, particularly Piastri, obviously the one in the lead, I'd be nervous. This would, and it's obviously F1 is a massive psychological game. That in itself, that element of he's gained 64 points in me in 4 races. Oh damn! It's going to have him worried. We'll have both of them worried. So yeah, it's been a huge comeback so far from Verstappen. And like I said, because I think we obviously said it for if it was good in Singapore versus Baku and Monza, which it was, then I think it's watch out. But given we've now gone to 4 very different circuits, this one we thought should have, given previous one, should really have been a McLaren favourite. The big, long, high-speed corners should have been their gig, and they obviously were up there. But Verstappen was better. So it's a worrying sign for Norris and Piastri. I think Norris was quite resigned to the fact that they just weren't as quick and may not be as quick for the remainder of the season.
I don't believe that.
No,
the car is as quick. It's because Verstappen is the difference.
Yeah, but I think that's again like part of it, isn't it? It's the psychological pressure. They're like, well, we're not as quick as him. So
the scary part being that Verstappen now has as many race wins this season as Norris does. So in theory, we're on count back if they finished by the end of the season, if they ended up, because of how well he's done. And we now go to Mexico, which is what Red Bull's favourite holiday destination. They are terrifyingly good at Mexico.
Yeah. I was super impressed by Verstappen all weekend long. I just think, similar to what you just said, Sam, I'm not convinced that Red Bull, the Verstappen Red Bull combination was just lights out quicker than everyone else. I think this was a tale of execution. Like, they executed this weekend perfectly. What you've already referenced with the qualifying lap, if Norris does put together his 3 best sectors, he gets pole position. And it's the finest of margins, but that dictates the race from there, because Verstappen is out in front. He just needs to get that first corner right, which he does. Like, he has a very clear plan of, I'm going to get to the inside, make sure no one is going to do a Lance Stroll from the sprint race. And he executed that perfectly. We didn't even see, compared to the sprint race where he was under a bit of pressure from George Russell, we didn't even see that during the main race. And I just think that he was able to dictate it from there. He won by just under 10 seconds. Could it have been more? Quite possibly. But he just didn't need it for that. He didn't need that to be the case. Whereas his biggest rival pace-wise on the weekend, Lando Norris, he's the one that has to contend with another car that's starting on the soft tyres. He's the one that's under threat into turn 1. And suddenly his race is no longer, how can I beat Verstappen? It's, how can I get past Leclerc, out-strategize him, just to give myself a chance of Verstappen being the only car ahead of me. So I don't think pace-wise there was a lot to choose between them, but Verstappen, as he so often does, is the guy just to rise above all of the, I don't want to say chaos because it wasn't a chaotic Grand Prix, but all he had to work on was, how do I win this race? Yep. He didn't have to think about anything else. So I was very impressed. The one thing I was thinking about strategically from Norris's side versus Verstappen, if Verstappen was in Norris's position and Norris got pole, I think Verstappen starts on the soft compound tyre. I think they maybe, again, similarly pace-wise, thinking if we can just get the lead out at the start, maybe that can be the difference. I think they try something. They gamble a little bit.
Those tyres held on a lot longer than we were expecting.
They did.
When we saw Leclerc on those used softs at the start, we all pulled this face, which you can't see on a podcast, which is great. But that is a face of, uh-oh. And then he was really, really good on them. And Ferrari this season have not been really, really good on their tyres. So if they made those softs last, imagine how long Verstappen or even the McLaren would be able to make them last.
I think Norris is still and McLaren are still in this mindset of, we've got to worry about Piastri, who's starting a few positions back. We can't afford for something to go wrong. We need to play it strategically, like, down the middle.
Safe as you can get.
Yeah, which ultimately might have hurt him because he lost that position to Leclerc on the start and just spent so much time trying to get it back. Had to overtake him twice, obviously. That Norris versus Leclerc battle, Harry, was one of the highlights of the Grand Prix. It was essentially Leclerc hanging on for dear life and not quite being able to do so. He still won driver of the day, so I think around the world people can respect the efforts of what he did. But how did you see that battle unfold?
It was like we Sam just said, we were all a bit skeptical, weren't we, when we were like, he's the only one on the softs in the top 10. But he made it work, and credit to him. He got the launch at the start and got in front of Norris, which was clearly the game plan. And then just held on for dear life, but with superb defending. Like, his car placement was unreal. And I think sort of outshone Norris in that respect. I think Norris probably will. I know he was downplaying the chances of trying to catch Verstappen, which is maybe fair, but if he wanted any chance of catching him, he had to try and get back. He should have got back past, in those early laps and been a bit more decisive. But that's not too much of a criticism to Norris. It was just excellent defending from Leclerc. But not only doing that, but making the tyres last as long as he did was a great effort. It was maybe the most effort put in versus reward. So much effort put in for the same. Like, he might have got the same thing anyway.
Driver of the day.
Yeah,
started third, finished third.
Exactly. Yeah. So he may well have got third place had he just gone down the normal, medium, start on a medium tyre and go from there. But credit to them for trying something different at Ferrari that actually worked for once.
I think they did well to split their strategy. I think it was a right call. Hamilton was solid on the other strategy. It didn't have the overall pace I thought of Leclerc, but he was always a constant threat to that battle in front, right? If anything happened, Hamilton's immediately there to be on it. He kept Piastri off the entire Grand Prix really well, got a bad launch, but a better start overall by getting in front of the likes of Russell as well. It was a really solid Grand Prix from Ferrari, which I'm quite surprised that we're saying. I can't pick too many holes in anything that they did. So fair play. I think they walked away with what the car was able to do.
It was a great battle to watch because it was right in front of us for a large portion of it. We were at turn 12. There was one instance where Leclerc, his car placement, as you just said, Harry, like his placement on the exit at turn 13, when Norris had a bit of a sniff and he just knew exactly what to do just to shut that down there and then. I thought it was great. And I think both stints kind of worked out in a very similar way where it felt like, okay, Norris is catching. Okay, Norris is going to get, he doesn't quite manage it this lap. He'll get it next lap. And then suddenly Leclerc kind of finds a second burst of energy and he still gets it done, but it takes him a lot longer than we think it's going to. Same thing then happens in the second stint. It looks like early on, okay, he's probably got this. And then Leclerc is able to at least pull away for a little bit, just extending that battle. The result's the same in that Norris gets by, but it did mean that his hopes of competing with Verstappen were essentially zero.
I thought the way Leclerc cut through the traffic after his pit stop was really crucial.
Yeah.
Did it really clinically. He got to the back of Hulk super quick, got the move done. Same with Tsunoda. These aren't, Hulk's a bit different, who was overachieving, I think, this weekend, despite the incident that happened in the sprint. But he was driving so well. But then to get through the likes of Tsunoda around him and stuff like that, Russell as well, like, it was pacey, it was quick, he was on the ball. And that made it so much of a bigger problem for the likes of Norris to then get back into second. I don't think they were expecting that undercut to be so potent, to have so much strength to it. So fair play to Leclerc, drove a brilliant race. I thought Norris did a good job at attacking Leclerc. I do want to see him be just a little bit more clinical with his wheel-to-wheel racing. It took a little longer than I expected for him to get by.
Yeah. And again, thinking about the championship, that is surely in the back of his head when he's contemplating these overtakes.
Do McLaren have to pick a driver at some point? Are they at risk of losing it?
I mean, they're at risk of losing it.
It's an obvious question.
I don't think they can.
Yeah, how would they pick?
I just don't think it will matter because, it's McLaren, but like the person who isn't picked, why would they say yes?
If you are a true champion, worthy champion, you don't back down regardless, right? You sit there and go, I don't care what you want to tell me on team orders. I'm going to just drive past them.
If McLaren went to Norris right now and said, we need to prioritise Piastri, I can't repeat what he should say.
I don't really well damn think so.
He would say, no, sir, not for me.
Not today, chap.
I thought, again, going back to strategy, because Leclerc, I think that strategy was absolutely spot on. I was worried, like both of you early on, as to whether it would be the right call. We had the virtual safety car early on, and I remember Sam, you were like, should he take the opportunity to pit here? And fair play to Ferrari, I think it worked out that they didn't. I just, with the way those soft tyres held on, it kind of, as the stints went on, it was like, okay, this has a good chance of working. Leclerc's doing all right. And then he comes out for the second stint. You're like, oh no, that was a really good call. Yeah. Like that has actually worked out well. And particularly with the overtaking through the traffic. I am disappointed that it turned into such a one-stop race on the softer tyres.
It was clear the hard tyre wasn't a usable tyre, right? It was terrible. Yeah. I think Albon got off it within 3 or 4 laps. The moment the VSC came out, he was like, see you later, thank you, don't want it. Terrible tyre. The soft tyre was by far too usable for such a hot condition. You think it should melt away. Lasted for half the Grand Prix.
But we saw that the way in which these drivers went about this race, and we kind of commented on this, was Verstappen only started to lap a couple of cars in the last few laps. It seemed to be a fairly slow-paced Grand Prix, and that was the choice rather than going for that attacking two-stop, which...
Yay! We had a two-stop here last year, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it was fun.
It was a good race.
We enjoyed it because we saw the action in front of us.
I can imagine on TV it might have been a bit of a snoozer.
And I wonder how many they didn't actually show. We know what that TV direction's been like this.
Well, just a shout on TV direction, because I think I mentioned this when we were sat in the stands, but I've seen on social afterwards, F1 basically followed everyone across the line. There was no cutting away to garages, because obviously they took quite a big hit after Singapore, where every shot was followed by a picture of her family or girlfriend or
celebrating, which is like, we get it.
Although I did enjoy the Bearman, which we'll get into, Bearman spinning and then it cutting to his dad in a massive Stetson.
Gigantic hat.
It's so big.
That's unnecessarily huge.
Big hat for a big spin.
I hope that every time they cut back to him, it will grow. It's the size of the garage. You can't see around him.
We've covered off the top 3 positions. That included one of the McLarens, that being Lando Norris, but it did not include Oscar Piastri, who had a difficult weekend, only walked away with 5th place after qualifying 6th. Didn't seem like much of a threat for the pole positions that we had. Obviously, the sprint race didn't go very well either for him. I know Baku is obviously his worst weekend of the year, and it's not close based on how that first lap went. But in terms of outright pace, was this his worst weekend?
I think so. I think comparable to Monaco, it's those two for me that stand out as it's really off the boil, nowhere near Norris. And it felt like Piastri was struggling with tyres this weekend. It felt like he either couldn't get the tyres in the right window to maximise the performance, which meant the balance was off, or during the Grand Prix, he saw increased wearing, which Norris and those around him weren't struggling with. And that meant that actually his pace again was off. He couldn't close in on Hamilton, who was far off the likes of Norris and Leclerc. He was barely keeping Russell behind him in that fight as well. Russell was very close for the entire Grand Prix. It just felt like he was driving a bit of a different car to Norris this weekend. Never had the pace to challenge Norris or Verstappen, and that is worrying. He came up with that press statement that said, I'd rather be where I am, I'd rather be in my position than where they are as the leader of the championship. Don't know how much longer you're going to be the leader of the championship for if you keep driving like this, mate, because it's been a pretty poor run of performances from Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, I mean, someone told me that he went by us 56 times yesterday, and I don't believe him. I don't think I saw him once.
No, it wasn't it? Anonymous.
We've lost him.
A bit stinky, wasn't it?
Bit whiffy.
And I guess unusually whiffy for if we're excluding Baku here, but it was, you're right, because Baku was just kept crashing all the time.
Yeah.
But hard to know whether he actually had the pace or not there. Whereas here, he just wasn't quick, especially relative to Norris, and didn't look like it all weekend. Obviously, they were near each other in the sprint race, too near, it turns out. But he'd never really looked like a real threat for even the podium. So it's not been a great, since the summer, it's been up and down for Piastri in a way that it wasn't before the summer, the first half of the season. So
yeah, last win was Zandvoort? Has he had a podium? Yes, he has since then, right?
Monza?
I don't know. He's gone. I thought he'd gone 3 races without a podium.
Might be.
Yeah.
You can tell we're hungover, folks. Cannot remember any stats.
I'm so impressed that duck is still there.
I am not moving. The duck is firmly placed upon my mic stand.
Wow.
At least they can do something right, eh?
Hey, come on now.
Don't be rude to the duck.
I won't be rude to the duck. Out of context, help me. I don't know. I just thought Piastri was completely lacking all weekend. And we have seen on occasion he hasn't quite been on it in FP1 or FP2, and he's kind of pulled it together as we've got towards the closing stages of qualifying, and then we head to the race. We find out he's got pretty good race pace, and he goes on and wins or gets a podium, and it just never materialized. And that is one of the it's not really a disadvantage of the sprint, but it's just one of the things you have to bear in mind is that if you aren't on it straight away, recovering it can be trickier, particularly when all of your rivals have had at least like one stint's worth of practice with the sprint race. Like they are working out tires, what the wear is like. They're working out what the optimal lines are. I mean, we saw with turn 12, for example, not everyone was taking the same line. And I'm not even convinced it was some drivers just missing the apex. I think some were kind of intentionally
Initially, we went, a bit wide. But then...
Apart from the Alpines.
Which generally just not doing...
Or Hadjar for the first, 5 laps.
The corner every lap. But many drivers, you're right, were taking a wide apex and choosing not to hit the apex.
Yeah. And it just, as soon as the race started and, he made a bit of progress, obviously, and as soon as he couldn't keep up with Hamilton, and it's not like his teammate, for example, Norris, was clearly being slowed down by Leclerc. Like he would have been comfortably ahead of him if it stayed ahead of him at the start. And you feel like in that situation, there's an opportunity for Piastri to close in. I guess a bit similar to what happened in Singapore, right, with Verstappen and Norris. And he just didn't. And there was a point where it looked like the undercut was very much on from Russell's perspective on Piastri. We saw he had a massive lockup right in front of us as he got close. If he doesn't have that, he might well...
It's touch and go.
Yeah. Piastri had to protect against the undercut with his pit stop.
But we even saw it with Hamilton against Leclerc, right? When the tyres did start to die, those soft tyres. Hamilton, obviously Leclerc makes the mistake through the S's, but Hamilton was gaining anyway, gets the move done. Leclerc has to come into the pits, essentially. We never saw that with Piastri at any point. He never started to pull the gap back. It just, only at the end did we see Piastri right behind Hamilton, and that felt like Hamilton had backed off completely.
I think it's good for Piastri that he can go straight into another race weekend.
Yeah.
He's
had a bad run. He needs something to go his way.
Just burn this one from the memory and just straight on to Mexico. I think that will be good for him. But we'll see how McLaren fares there. We just don't know anymore.
Which I love. I love it when we get to a championship fight. You go into every race not knowing. Would it be one of the best comebacks of all time if Verstappen wins this?
It would be the best comeback of all time.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Oh, we are in for something.
He was 104 points down 4 races ago.
Oh, it's going to be juicy.
Juicy.
Like an orange.
Sure. Well, I mean, Verstappen might well be in the championship fight. And
what do you mean by well? He's there.
Well, exactly. And the McLarens too. But Mercedes aren't in that fight because they haven't been consistent enough this year. We went into this race asking, could they, after what was an excellent result in Singapore, back that up with something at COTA, a very different track?
No. My bold prediction went really well, which we'll review in a minute. Going back to normal for Mercedes on that front. I'm not sure whether it was I just think they had overall pace, did they, really, to be honest? I know Russell obviously got second in the sprint, but he
looked good in the sprint.
Yeah, we was just avoiding the carnage, wasn't it? And the things with the sprint, not to get onto sprints, but you never really get a good judge of the pace because they're not doing the same management that they do in a normal race.
Some would say that is the appeal of the sprint.
Yeah, but it sucks.
Some would. Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, they just never really ultimately looked like they had the pace. They were the slowest of McLaren, Red Bull, and Ferrari. Which is an unusual thing to say. I know Tsunoda wasn't there quite, but
at least he was 7th.
Yes, but back to normal after the anomaly of being good in Singapore.
I think it looked worse because of what happened to Kimi with the shunt.
Yeah.
It made their result much worse, but it's very telling that Team Max Verstappen is now only 10 points behind this Ferrari-Mercedes fight for second place because there's no consistency with these cars. They're not able to solidify themselves as that second favourite regularly enough. And Russell lacking in pace, Antonelli out the points. This was a good weekend for Ferrari and it flops the other way where the Mercedes aren't very good. It's just no consistency to their game at the moment. And anytime there is any heat, we've said this so many times now, proving it once again, they just cannot deal with these ultra-warm Grand Prix. And there are a few of them coming up.
Singapore. They won Singapore.
And they will probably also win Vegas. Just two ends of the ultimate spectrum.
Just really cold.
If it doesn't make sense, Mercedes will do it. That is their motto. They were just kind of there, weren't they? And not competing at the very front, which was disappointing because I think George Russell in that fight would have made it even better. Yeah. But ultimately just didn't quite have it. I think with the sprint, he probably attacked quite a lot early on. We saw he had the opportunity to get by Verstappen, went too deep into turn 12, didn't make it stick. But I think with the carnage that had gone on behind, he kind of had a bit of flexibility to do that. He could attack and not face too many repercussions if it came back to bite him. Yeah. Like if he was really struggling with the tyres in the last 5 laps, he could probably just hold on and claim second. And hey, if he dropped a position, he'd have only lost 1 point because sprints.
It don't matter.
But yeah, I think then going into the main race, it just unfolded quite quickly that over a full race distance, over a full stint with those hot temperatures, just not quite enough. But yeah, like you said, they'll be quick somewhere else this season. Just don't know where and why.
It'd be interesting to see if they overcome this with the new regulations because this has been a struggle for them now for a couple of seasons. So with the new cars, if they're able to readapt and work this out, or if it's a long-term issue that they're going to find because it's holding them back.
Do you think they've just always been good but don't understand why? And it was really, really lucky in the... just
maybe
rocking up again.
Engine is amazing. Everything else sucks.
No, I'm not being serious, obviously, but it is strange, isn't it? It continues to baffle them.
That's dominant for that long and you still can't work this out.
Yeah, interesting.
It is odd, very odd. We'll focus a bit on Antonelli's crash with Carlos Sainz a little bit later on in the episode. But shall we shift our attention to driver of the day?
Oh, yes.
The verdict is in. You're the driver of the day. You're the driver of the day. You're good at driving.
You are good at driving, yes.
We love it. Good driving.
Now, Charles Leclerc won the public vote after starting third and finishing third.
Yep.
Did he get your vote, Sam?
Totally fair shout. Respect it. Not going to go with it. Max Verstappen for me. It was just dominance again by Max Verstappen. The calmness, the ability to manage those tyres. I still don't think the car is the fastest car. So delivering that level of pace, it helped that Leclerc was so good in defence over Norris to build that gap. But then when that happened, the gap never really changed anyway once Norris did get through. So yeah, Verstappen for me. Incredible weekend.
Harry?
Yeah, I'll go for Verstappen as well. Leclerc is definitely the other main contender for me. I'd shout out Hülkenberg as well. Verstappen was just superb all weekend. And, particularly in the race as well. As mentioned, just did all he had to do, but ran off and hit up the road. So, yeah, pretty easy one.
Yeah, I mean, those three are the contenders for me. Leclerc was brilliant, even if on paper it doesn't look brilliant. It looked like he just held position, but the way in which he got there, I think he is deserving of a shout. I'd also say Hülkenberg because he's been missing for a while. Harry's been asking the question for a long time.
We found him.
Where is Nico
He's
Hülkenberg?
been putting posters up down the road.
And all it took was for you to be here, to see him in person. He's like, now I've got reason, I've got incentive to do well.
He mullered Bortoletto this weekend.
He did.
Like a corner. Absolutely mullered him.
Oh my God, maybe it is me because I did go to Silverstone on the Friday last year. This year, sorry.
Driver of the day was Verstappen for me as well, though, so it's a clean sweep. From driver of the day to worst driver of the day.
Get in the bin, worst driver of the day. Bin, worst driver of the day. Bin. You suck at driving.
Took off his fingers because you've left it on the thing.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Okay, cool. Just really letting that one linger. Worst driver of the day.
Stinky.
Sam.
Carlos Sainz.
Yeah.
Just crashed straight in the back of that one. There were some other contenders, but I'm going to leave it to you guys. Real opportunity to score fantastic points. Was having a really strong weekend. The Williams actually looked like it could be quite good around here. Just don't drive into someone, pal.
Harry?
Yeah, Carlos Sainz. It's just more in like the frustration of it because like you say, he was having a really good weekend and was making moves because he did that same move on Bearman on one of the opening laps. And it was super. This one just he wasn't quite in the same position and punted Antonelli into oblivion. So sorry, Carlos.
I see your one Williams and I will raise you another Williams. Not a great race for them. Alex Albon, I'll go with because that was a clumsy one in front of us at turn 12. He was playing catch up from there really. And all weekend, I kind of felt Carlos Sainz had a bit of a pace advantage, even with Carlos Sainz not being able to complete like nearly all of the only free practice session. But from there, we saw obviously a different situation, but Antonelli trying to work his way back into the points, got close, but not quite there. And Alex Albon kind of always felt a couple of steps behind even that. So not a great weekend for him. Struggled with track limits a bit as well. Big brain Strat.
Bob, we're gonna need you to box for wets. What? It's not even raining out. What are you talking about? Yeah, and Bob, if you get a chance, let your teammate pass you. What? He crashed out. He's not even in the race.
Great.
behind the scenes, folks, we can't hear these playing.
I really hope you are so out of time with the drums as well.
Yeah.
Harry, what was your big brain Strat?
Fernando Alonso and his
He's a little rascal.
he was in P10, got P10 after sort of because he didn't have a great start, but stops all played out, made a couple of moves, took Bortoletto's kneecaps along the way.
Yep.
Was on for a point, but he was never catching Bearman and Hülkenberg. So then he just sat Lawson and Stroll in his DRS lap after lap after lap. And I even said to Ben during the race, I was like, is Alonso slow or is he just playing a game? And you're like, what do you think? And lo and behold, we got to about 10, or 8 to 10 laps before the end. And Alonso was like, I'm bored of that game now. Bye. I think it wasn't just boredom. I think it's deliberate tactic, but I loved it.
I am going to go with Ocon and Haas because they really messed that up. They decided to start him on the hard tyre, which just proved to be an awful tyre to the point where he was off of the hard tyres earlier than most other drivers were off of the medium tyres. I think some even Stroll went longer on the soft tyre than Ocon did on the hard tyre because he just couldn't find any pace. And I should have found exactly what the post-race team radio was to his race engineer. But he's paraphrasing. He kind of just says, why are you doing this to me?
Why me?
In French.
Yeah. I'll need to find what the exact quote was, but he wasn't very happy about that strategy. And I understand why.
Well, when Bearman clearly has a car to fight in the points and he's lingering back there, it's not ideal.
Not ideal.
I'm going to go Leclerc, the Ferrari Strat. I genuinely think that was a fantastic play. I think it worked really well for them. And I thought they were always fighting an uphill battle to try and fight with Norris and Verstappen anyway. Put themselves in the best position to do so. Nearly worked out.
An eventful race yesterday at COTA means we do have a few incidents to review, and both of them, the significant ones, happened not very far from us at turn 15, which we had a nice view of. Let's start with the one that happened first, Antonelli and Carlos Sainz. So Antonelli and Sainz both in the points, looking like they can deliver a good race for their respective teams. And all of a sudden, Carlos Sainz trying to move on Antonelli into turn 15 does not go well with Sainz going into the side of Antonelli. I think we probably thought at the time that's race done for Kimi, but clearly not enough damage to make that a permanent retirement. Carlos Sainz, though, did need to park up, and he was the only DNF in this Grand Prix. Sainz has received a 5-place grid penalty as a result of the move for the next race. Do you agree with the penalty? Do you think it was on Sainz?
Yeah, fully agree with the penalty. If this was the other way around, if Antonelli had done this to Sainz, I'd have gone rookie move, proper rookie move. Just didn't get the cut that right. And it was really bad from Carlos Sainz. The angle of turn 15 is a really interesting one in the sense that you almost can take that corner like 3 or 4 different ways. And you have to really judge when you're going to be alongside, because we've seen incidents like this before where cars will clatter into the side of one or the other, or they'll hit the back of the other. And this is done by Carlos Sainz again. It's really clumsy, poorly executed, and we saw some great switchback moves actually through that corner from a lot of drivers. I think actually Albon put on a fantastic move around the outside of Ocon, I think it was. Or maybe it's one of the Alpines. It's tough to see when you're looking across 3 corners. So it can be done. Carlos Sainz, though, is just clumsy and he's gone straight to the back of him. I'm amazed that Mercedes was able to finish the Grand Prix. I thought it was done for. So maybe Antonelli was nursing some damage and that limited his pace. But he did all right in the end. Shame he didn't get back to the points. Fully on Carlos Sainz, a really poor incident.
To let you guys know what happened, Antonelli, it looked like he was going to retire just off the track. I then got out of my seat, shouted at him, "You are in my fantasy team. Get going. I ain't taking the -20." And he decided to keep going. So
I don't want to talk about fantasy.
Oh,
I really don't want to talk about fantasy.
Probably a good idea. I thought this was more clear cut at the time, and having seen it, I'm less sure about it. And the reason I'm less sure about it is the way in which like the corner immediately preceding 15 works. Because you kind of got like the slight kink, right? Yeah. And then you're into turn 15. Yeah. Going into the preceding, the corner before, he is well behind. Like he's not alongside, isn't entitled to room. But by the time they get to 15, because of the sort of dive he made at 14, you could claim that he deserves the room. It's an interesting one because most corners are very clear cut in that it's just one corner in isolation by itself. Have you done enough to get alongside? But that complex of corners is a bit more complex because you've kind of got...
You do a lot of this, don't you?
Yeah. So I think it was on Carlos Sainz, but I can see why he tried the move. I feel like in that situation, I know you've got to go for everything that you see when you're a driver in a midfield car like a Williams, and I know there's not too much riding on this season now for Williams, but just in terms of managing your race, it didn't feel like it was a necessary move.
Yeah, he didn't, like I said earlier on, he did the move on Bearman a lap or 2 beforehand, and obviously thought that was going to be his go-to overtaking place, but you're right. It's a high risk, low reward move. It was Carlos Sainz's fault, but you're right. It is such a tricky one, and we'll get onto the other one in a minute. But that corner presents different ways of attacking, but different ways of defending, and well, the way F1 cars are as well. They're not as nimble as they used to be. Once you're committed to that, you're not really getting out of it. And I think Sainz had committed. Obviously the wrong call, but I think his argument is that Antonelli moved or was didn't really see him coming, but overall I place it on Sainz, and it was a shame for both their races.
You mentioned high risk as part of that. I can raise you with something even higher risk, and that was the Bearman and Tsunoda incident we had at that corner that saw Bearman spin around and lose a position, still managed to finish inside the points, claimed 2 points for 9th place, but it looked like it could have been even more with him challenging Yuki Tsunoda. Now, Oliver Bearman still is 2 penalty points away from a race ban, and we were listening to his post-qualifying interview on the Saturday, where he was like, as soon as a couple points go off my license, then I'll get back to the real me.
What was that, boy?
I was going to say he saw an opening. I don't think there was one, but he's over the grass.
I'll have what he's having if that's an opening. I mean, the guy is advantageous at best, I think. This was a place where Bearman should say thank you to Yuki Tsunoda for his avoiding action. Because I think if Yuki hadn't avoided that and Bearman had collected him, race ban, see you later. Yeah, that's done. He ended up having a spin on his own that Yuki Tsunoda kind of wasn't there for, rather than it being a 2-car collision that wiped out 2 cars. I loved the ambition of the move, shall we say, to put it politely. The pace that Bearman was showing against Tsunoda was really fantastic. He was delivering something I wasn't expecting. To see that gap come down time and time again. We commented on it during the race, how much the gap between the Haas and the Red Bull was coming down. Just, he needs to be more patient. He needs to just hold station a little longer. If the move isn't on, especially when you're that close to a race ban, don't be silly. Don't throw the car across the grass like that. That was a really rookie error. It's a shame as well, because I do think he was on for a really, really strong points finish. I'm glad he's still got some points out of it. It's fully on Bearman. I don't think Yuki closed the door. I don't think there was any foul play. He was fully ahead at that apex. It's just really bad car positioning from Bearman. I think he lost it a little bit.
Yeah, I think maybe there's an element of he's going up against the Red Bull. I know it's not the Red Bull of Verstappen, and he just doesn't know if he's going to get another opportunity. And maybe the desperation sort of kicks in as a result of that. Again, risky maneuver for someone as close to a race ban as he is.
Yeah, we joked that he threw it on the grass just to avoid any sort of contact and get those penalty points. I think, again, it's that, like I said just now with the Sainz and Antonelli incident, that corner, he'd committed in his mind what he was going to do. And there was a slight jink from Tsunoda, but it's whereas with a normal just one corner, if Tsunoda was doing that sort of jink, you'd say, well, he moved under braking. But because it is a slight corner, slight kink in the road, Tsunoda's entitled to do that. And then by that point, Bearman had already committed and had to throw it on the grass. So wasn't really worth it. And obviously he still had a good race, still picked up points, but he might have had even more had he not had that spin, because that dropped him down a couple of places. So lucky to come away with points and no race ban. Well done, Bearman.
Overall, couple of good races for Bearman. Like his pace seems to be quite on it at the moment. Obviously, qualifying, he really performed, and his pace. I thought his pace early on in the Grand Prix wasn't particularly great, but then it got better as the race went on, and we saw even when he dropped back behind Hülkenberg and Tsunoda, all 3 of their pace looked pretty similar for the rest of that Grand Prix. So yeah, even with that near miss, a pretty good one for Bearman. The other driver in that incident, Yuki Tsunoda, so he finishes inside the points, obviously a long way off where his teammate was, about 50 seconds away. But it is 2 Red Bulls in the points, which has not been a given so far this year. Does it change anything? Was it a good performance, bad performance? What do you think?
In the world of Yuki Tsunoda, this was a good performance. The last couple of Grand Prix have been his best pretty much since he's got into Red Bull. His most consistent by far. I think we saw the stat that he scored more in these 2 races than he has done in the last 12, something like that. Which shows a real turning form for him. Unfortunately, that good form is 50 seconds off your teammate while they're going on to win a race by nearly 10 seconds themselves. And when Red Bull are genuinely in contention for second place in the championship, and you'd argue with the car being this good, if they had a second driver, we brought up Sergio Perez from 2021 debate that was going on the internet. If they had a driver that was a bit more comfortable in that car, that was able to deliver even 50% more, there's a real chance they might be fighting with McLaren across the whole season. The gap doesn't seem that big. So I was worried about how quickly Bearman caught him. despite this being a really good performance for him where he scores good points, the pace just isn't there. He's just not able to deliver it across the whole Grand Prix. He's being caught by significantly slower cars. He clearly doesn't have that confidence in the car anymore, and I do think it's too little too late. I would be shocked if the decision comes out, which apparently is going to be around the next couple of Grand Prix, that they are going to keep Yuki Tsunoda in that car. I would be really surprised, even with this upturn in form.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. What did you make of Tsunoda's performance?
Yeah, the thing is, it's a better performance for Tsunoda. The past couple have, and it's all relative to what he's been doing. But if Sergio Perez was in that car and finishing 7th whilst Verstappen's winning, we'd rightly crucify him for that. So it's better, but it's not what Red Bull need. It was almost, when the car wasn't good and the second seat was really struggling, it was almost some ways more forgivable because the car's not very good and Verstappen is just making it look better. But obviously they've improved the Red Bull now, so Tsunoda has to go along with it. So I hope he can build from that, from a couple of okay performances, but it's even a P7 is not going to be enough to be keeping your seat, I don't think.
When Perez was in the seat, we were looking at 20-second gaps, 25-second gaps and saying, you've got to be closer than that. You've got to get it down to single digits. We're not even anywhere near that number yet. So
it's double that.
Yeah. Still work to do. And you have to wonder whether, he's still in the car, but are they really contemplating at this point? Who knows? In the midfield, I want to quickly focus on the team he used to race for, Racing Bulls. Bit of a nothing weekend for them. I feel like it was one of Ajar's worst of the season. He kind of never really got going. Lawson.
No, I agree on the Hajar point. I mean, if you're going to have a bad weekend, have it on the weekend when the car is not able to do anything. It felt like they never really had the pace to compete with the midfield this time around. And that's what you expect from Racing Bulls. They're never going to be a permanent, 4th, 5th place team that's fighting for that kind of outside points every single race. They are a Siska team. They're there to build up young drivers. That is what they do at the base of things. So when they have these off weekends, they're still giving their drivers experience. That is still the point. But Hajar was rough this weekend. He was poor. He missed that, we said, turn 12. I think 4 times in a row he missed that corner off the track, locking the tyres up. Was fighting with the Alpines for a lot of the Grand Prix, which took him a long time to get past. Far too long to get past. I think Lawson had a pretty solid weekend, actually. I think whilst it's a shame he didn't score points, he was trapped in this battle with the Aston Martins. Fernando Alonso absolutely playing games, which is fantastic to see.
Bench from last year, isn't it?
Yeah, karma. I just think that, the car wasn't really there for them. I think this was good for Lawson. I don't think it'll be enough, unfortunately, to sway opinions in the Red Bull higher-ups to make him get another chance, really. But this is what you want to see from a rookie driver, if you can still call him that. It's just consistency, delivering strong performances, even when the car isn't there. It was solid. Hajar was the one that needs to improve.
What about Aston Martin? They kind of seem there or thereabouts. We've had a couple of very good races from them in recent times. This wasn't one of those, but equally, they're not languishing down in the Alpine territory. So an okay one?
An okay one. I think it's in line with. They've made some improvements to that car. Obviously, the upgrades that they brought when they put the right ones on, the upgrades they brought after the summer break, I think are working. They only seem to excel in high downforce circuits, and even then, still not brilliant. But this felt in line with that. This wasn't going to necessarily be a strong track for them. I think where they finished middle of the pack is probably about where that car is right now. Alonso is, being Alonso with his games and stuff. I think he couldn't have done much more to get further up. Bearman and Hulkenberg were sort of excelling. I thought the race from Stroll was actually pretty good to get back to where he was, and he had the alternate strat, and to be that not far off Alonso. Again, I know Alonso was backing them up, but to be that close towards the end of the race is actually. It's actually good. I said to you, he was closer to Lawson for so many laps than he ever was to Ocon. Why didn't he send that? Send that one, son. There's a point up the road if you want it.
Nah. If there's points on the line,
I ain't going for it.
The only points I want are penalty.
Shall we have a look at bold predictions, because it's not a rosy picture. We said during the preview in front of a lot of people that we need at least one of these right. We can't let the people down. And we've let the people down.
And because of that, no one is truly let down. Because it's what we were all expecting.
Oh,
Wow, that's really nice.
So, Harry, your bold prediction was that there would be a Mercedes 1-2.
Yep.
There was not.
No.
Good. I said that Antonelli would win one of the two races. He didn't.
He did not.
No. And Sam, you said that there would be a podium from someone starting outside the top 10. The podium was comprised of the drivers that started first, second, and third in that order.
Yeah. Didn't get a plan. I was hoping for turn 1 carnage. Didn't happen.
Okay, so I don't think the abacus needs to move.
Thank God we didn't bring it with us.
Yeah, we left it in the UK anyway.
We knew.
Well, there we go. Our own moment of the race. So Sam, kick us off.
Ollie Bearman absolutely sending it over the grass right in front of us. That was... it got the crowd going. It's a different vibe when you're sitting there in the grandstand. And so to hear everyone go, "Wah!" It's a lot. It's a lot. And it's great fun. And that was a good moment. Enjoyed it.
Harry?
Same corner, but the other incident, Sainz and Antonelli. It was a big action point. So enjoyed that one.
I think that's my first ever crash in real life right in front of me.
Oh, really?
Every time I've gone to see F1 live, it never happens on the corner that I'm watching.
Yeah, valid point.
I'm going to go with Hamilton versus Leclerc. Just before Leclerc stopped.
Oh my God, man. What are you doing?
Just let him through.
Let him go, son.
Let him pit. Let him go.
He'd worked so hard, Leclerc, during that first stint. His tyres were done.
Yep.
Just let him go.
Yeah.
Just let him go. There's no need to fight that.
What are you losing?
If they crashed into each other.
And they were so... I mean, I love that they battled, but they were so close.
Yeah. So I went with that one over the other teammates battling, which is the Alpines.
Colapinto being told off.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
What's he being?